Hello everybody and welcome back to another lesson. Today I would like to tackle the concept of modes, in particular major modes. I want to explain a little bit what they are and how they work. Then I want to take more time and show you in detail how they are on the fretboard and how they connect together. And then at the end I want to show you 3 different ways that helped me to incorporate modes into my playing and improvising. So if you already know your major modes, fast forward to a point in this lesson that's relevant to you. For this lesson, we're going to be in the key of G. So all our modes will be based around our G major scale. And if we play the G major scale like this, I've played a G major. Now if I play the same scale, but I start on the 2nd degree of the scale here, and then I play all the same notes, I've just played the 2nd mode in my G major scale, and that happens to be called Adorian Scale. In fact, a mode is the same scale, just starting and finishing on a different point. And by doing this, you get a focus on different notes out of the scale. So it's like looking at the same thing, but from a different angle. The focus changes depending on which note you start on. And a way to navigate all this and keep track of it all is by allocating each mode with a name. And thankfully, as we're guitarists, we can associate that name with a shape. And that is the kind of core principle of what modes are. You have your major scale, and then you have these 7 scale shapes, and each one has a different name. But in fact, it's all just a major scale starting on different degrees of the scale, not just the root. Hopefully you're still with me. Let's now put that into a practical example. Just to demonstrate you the modes, I have my G here, and I have my G major scale. If I play the G major scale all along the low E string like this, that actually gives me the starting position of each of my mode positions. So when I play the G major scale on the 1st note of the scale, that's my 1st position. When I play it here, that's the beginning place of my 2nd mode. And my 3rd mode, etc. Now I'd like to take you through each mode shape. I'm gonna talk you through it here, but there will be a tab available on my website and also on my Patreon. If you're new to this or you don't have much experience in learning scale shapes, don't rush this. Take a week and learn 1 shape, and then the following week, start working on the 2nd. And don't move on till you feel comfortable with a shape. The 1st scale is called an Ionian Scale, and it's another word for major scale. And these are its notes. I have my 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the low E string, which is our root note. Pinky finger on the 5th fret of the low E. Now on the A string, I have 2nd fret of the A, 3rd fret of the A, 5th fret of the A. Now to the D string, and I have the 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret. Now we move to the 2nd octave. I come to my G string, and I play 2nd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, to the B string, 3rd fret, 5th fret, E string, 2nd fret, 3rd fret. So we have like this. 2nd mode. This is called Adorian Scale, and this is what it sounds like. Let's go through that together. I start on the 5th fret of the E string, and I play the 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret, come down to the A string, 5th, 7th. Now I come down to the D string, and I change position. I bring my 1st finger to the 4th fret, then 5th, 7th. Same on the G string, 4th, 5th, 7th. Then I bring my 1st finger back to the 5th fret of the B string, play the 7th, 8th, and then the 5th fret of the high E. Now to our 3rd mode, which is called a Phrygian scale, and it starts on the 3rd degree of the major scale. So I'm on the 7th fret of the low E string, and I play 7th, 8th, and 10th fret. I come down a string and I play the 7th, 9th, and 10th. Then I come down to the D string and I play the 7th, 9th and 10th. Then I come to the G string and I play the 7th and the 9th. B string, 7, 8, 10. E string, 7. Now back. Now we come to the 4th mode, and this is called a Lydian scale. And this is what it sounds like. I start with my 2nd finger on the 8th fret and play 8th and 10th. I come down to the A string and I play the 7th, 9th, 10th. I come to the D string and I play the 7th, 9th, 10th. G string, I play 7, 9, 11. B string, I play 8, 10, 12. E string, I play the 8th. Now we move to the 5th mode, the 5th scale, and this is called a Lydian scale, and this is what it sounds like. So let's go through that. I start again with my 2nd finger on the 1st note of the scale, and I play 10th fret, 12th fret. Now to the A string, and I go 9, 10, 12. D string is 9, 10, 12. G string is 9, 11, 12. B string is 10, 12, 13. And E string is 10. Now let's play that backwards. And now we come to the 6th mode, and that is called an Aeolian scale. And this is what it sounds like. So let's go through that. If you don't have a cutaway like me, maybe you're starting to struggle, but we'll just keep trying for now. 12, 14, 15. A string, 12, 14, 15. D string, 12, 14. G string, 11, 12, 14. E string, 12, 13, 15. And then 12th on the high E. Now we have our final scale, our final mode, and that is called Locrian. And this is what it sounds like. Let's go through that. I start on the 14th fret with my 1st finger, and I go 14, 15, 17. Down to A string, and again 14, 15, 17. I come to the D string, and I play 14, 16, 17. I come to the G string and I play 14, 16, 17. Now I come to the B string and I play 15, 17, and then 14. And then we're back to our G major chord, or our Ionian scale. I can't recommend enough. Try and get the tabs or even Google some images of the mode shapes and just have a visual reference to help you as well as my video. I think that'll really help you to cement these shapes into your mind by combining sort of verbal instruction and having a visual cue as well. So in theory, you now understand what a mode is, and you have learned or begin to wrap your head around the fact that it's the same scale played 7 different ways to help bring out different intervallic tensions of the scale. Assuming you're ready to move on, the next part of the lesson would cover how do you begin to use it, or how do you begin to incorporate it musically. This is a whole lesson in itself, but I just want to give you the basics. The modes have a harmonic value. They're all the major scale, but for example, the 4th mode, Lydian, is a major scale, and the 2nd mode, Dorian, is a minor scale. So if you play a minor scale over a major chord, I mean, it could work, but it's probably going to sound a lot more harmonious if you play it over a minor chord. And the same principle applies with the major chords. So I just quickly want to talk about the scales and their harmonic value and the type of chords they usually work over. Now in the PDF on my website, I will also have a chart letting you know which chords work best over which scales. But for the sake of this lesson, I just want to give you a quick overview. So our major scale, our Ionian scale, the first scale of our major modes, is good over major chords. The second, Dorian, is good over minor chords. The third, Phrygian, is also a minor scale and works well over minor chords. As I mentioned, the fourth, Lydian, is good for major chords. Now the fifth mode, Lydian, works perfectly over dominant chords. Our sixth mode, Aeolian, works wonders over minor chords. Our seventh mode, Locrian, works great over half diminished chords, -7 flat 5s. And then we're back to our major. Now I want to show you 3 different ways of practicing your modes that'll really help you cement this concept into your mind and make it much easier to incorporate into your playing much faster. So the first way is play each mode in its diatonic order. That means you have to know the mode's shape off by heart, and you have to know its position in relation to the next mode or the mode before it. So that's just like how we went through the modes earlier in the lesson. We start with G again, and we play our G Ionian mode. Now when we go to the next mode, which is Adorian, you have to know where that starting note is going to be. So you come to the 2nd degree of the scale, and that becomes your new root note, and now you play the Dorian shape. And then you repeat the process with the 3rd shape. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and then back to our 1. The reason why it's so cool to practice it like that is because you learn the modes in a very practical way. You not only work on remembering the shapes, but you work on remembering the shapes in relation to each other. Now the second way to practice these modes effectively is to play each mode shape, but start each mode from the same note. So now you're not playing them in any sort of diatonic way, you're playing them all starting from the same note. For example, here is G, Ionian. Now we're going to play G Dorian. Now G Phrygian. Now G Lydian. Mixel Lydian. Aeolian. And Locrian. For demonstration purposes, I'm just playing 1 octave, but when you're practicing this at home, do it in 2 octaves and the tabs will have both octaves written out. Now, what's so special about practicing it this way is that you have to have the shapes really cemented into your mind because you don't have any reference of the scale shapes left or right of the mode like you would practicing it the first way I told you about. And another thing is that you really hear the sonic color of each mode when you play it like this. So the third and final really effective way to practice modes is playing them horizontally, no longer looking at them as strictly shapes. And this is a really important thing to practice because when you're improvising and you're relying on the sort of mode structures to navigate your way around the fretboard, very rarely is it ever appropriate to play them in a scale shape way. It's just not very musical. It's a brilliant exercise, trains your hands, but there's not much music in that, or at least I haven't managed to find it. So doing things like playing 4 notes per string and going through the scale up and down, it starts to turn your thinking over time from seeing the modes as 7 shapes just as one big scale through the whole fretboard. I'm going to demonstrate that third and final way of practicing modes over on my Patreon. So if you're interested for a more in-depth look on that, make sure you click the link in the description, and that's where the lesson's going to end here. I really hope that this lesson inspired you to practice your modes. If you have any questions, write them in the comments. And I just want to try and encourage you once more, take the time and learn this. It's such a wonderful tool. And once you start to get it, it opens up so many doors for being able to play more free. So if you like this, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you at the next lesson. Thank you so much for watching, and happy practice.